Good evening. Welcome to Investigator News, and this is Investigator News, World News, today's news and world news. And I got Lee on the phone, and I'll bring him in a minute. I want to get through some of the news, and then we're going to get on to crime. Folks, if we don't understand the crime, we won't understand how to fix it. I've had so many emails of how do we fix what's going on? And where do we go? Who do we talk to? And I think with Lee, he's our new host. Uh, Lee,
Yeah, I'm
welcome,
here.
welcome. There's a
Well,
picture
thank
of
you for
Lee.
having me.
He is our new host, like William. So, I'm going to say the host with the most. And you're important now. Uh, you're the new part of Investigator News with William and Rendy, of course. But of course, we don't see Rendy much. Um, but Rendy's got stuff going on. But William and I've asked Lee that he commit to being a host on Thursdays, that we can start understanding what's going on in this country. Now, I want to start with, Gavin Newsom uh, blames federal judges for homelessness. Many are Democrat appointees. So he's pointing fingers at himself. California Governor Newsom blamed federal judges for refusing to let state and local governments clear homeless in camps from the streets. But many of the judges involved are liberals or Democrat Party appointees or paid by foundations by SOROS. Uh, Lee, I got to tell you, you can't mention that name. You have to spell it in order for it to pass through YouTube. So,
All right.
um, uh, but they're avoiding the homeless of California, Newsom is, and supporting the migrants. Um, Now California has put in $15.5 billion into the homeless, they say, and we'll get into that a little bit with me and Lee on the funding of how funding works. Um, so Newsom blames federal judges. Now, why don't he look into them and have them impeached? Well, he won't because they're liberal judges. They are paid for by SOROS and in agreement with the governor. And see, this is where we're starting to see the corruption. Um, all right, so Ukraine loses one of its closest allies. And not only that, but Grant Shapps, one of the British Prime Ministers of cabinet allies, was named UK Defense Secretary on Thursday, today. Began a cabinet reshuffle ahead of the general election that is expected to take part this year. So, what we're looking at is um, we are they the UK is revamping itself because of the crime. Not only the crime of Muslims extremists or Islamic extremists that came in as peaceful Muslims that now have no go zone, but we're looking at the migrants now coming in with many issues. So we are now looking at now Ukraine, not only UK, but Ukraine is going to lose uh, embassy workers due to the fact of the crime. Um, and so, what else are they to do? If we are looking at let's look at the UK and the BBC because the BBC is now complaining that them making legal heroin cocaine, and meth, that it was a big mistake. And now even the migrants coming into the UK and uh, England are now being stuck on so many drugs that they can't even function. And so now they got a problem. Now they got homeless. They need the same things happening in here in the United States. Now, um, uh, and I don't want to dwell too much on it, but it's the fact that we're looking at the England being way ahead of us. The UK and Britain is way ahead of us. We're like 2, 3 years behind them, and we have to look at uh, LA at the same time because LA is ahead of the country. So what we see going on in California could happen to the rest of the country. And this is extreme, and we're seeing it in Philadelphia. Karen, you can attest to it, that we now see so many people on drugs that they're zombies. And we never thought we would see zombies in the streets, but they seen it years ago in England and the UK, and they were warning the United States under the Trump administration that we needed to stop it before it hit uh, our nation. And then under Trump, what did we see? We seen San Francisco, we seen Philadelphia, and we're seeing New York, where there are so many people on drugs, and the position the Democrats took was let's give them needles, clean needles. Well, that created a whole big issue. Now, uh, this administration wants to pass heroin and cocaine as being legal and marijuana overall so we can correct the problem. And the UK has been warning us not to do this. Um, Now we're looking at Georgia jail that booked Trump and others. They have had the fourth inmate now has died. So we have 4 deaths of out and out someone killing them in less than a month. And this is one of the worst jails uh, in the country. And Fannie Willis is wanting to put Trump lawyers in this jail. Or will they make it? Will they live? Are they going to be found like Jeffrey Epstein? Um, and James Comer, oh boy. Uh, when we look at, boy, folks, and I mentioned this earlier on the phone to, I think it was Lee, or even it might have been Karen, how corrupt um, this the Democrat Party has been. And we have key Democrats that have been so corrupt. Now, we are even looking at Biden as he was just a senator. When he was a senator, he was collecting boxes of documents. Why? What did he do as a senator that we need to know about? Well, his lawyers now have it. Are they still there? Have they been shredded? Have they been deleted? Have they been burned? We don't know. But he is the most corrupt vice president, senator in history. Forget about Trump. Trump may have said, "Oh, I didn't win, and I want the election looked at. I think I got cheated." Well, why not look at it? What's the problem with Georgia to turn over uh, information for them to look at? If you're gonna spout it that you're a clean, you're the best um, election state in history, prove it. Ain't that right, Lee?
Yeah, that is right. They should.
Um,
But they should back off of trying to threaten him and stuff every 5 minutes. It doesn't seem right. It seems like you're getting dog piled on.
yeah,
Because don't you have freedom of speech? If you don't think something happened correctly, you should be able to say it, whether you're right or you're wrong. Because
right.
that's just you
Well, Al
saying
Gore
something.
did it. Stephanie Abrams did it. Everybody, they all do it. If they don't think they win, they go out in public and they said, "Hey, they cheated." We ought to be going after Al Gore and Stacey Abrams, especially Stacey Abrams being in Georgia. She still thinks she's governor, and she's not. She still thinks it is, and she thinks
So
she
how
got
come
cheated.
she's not being indicted? Like,
Why? That's right.
why
Um,
do they pick and choose who has freedom of speech, who can just say something? Because if a person's wrong about it, they were wrong about it. That doesn't cause anybody any harm. But what cause somebody harm is if you say something possibly happened. That's kind of like how the victims were getting treated. Because like when we had an issue after some people got killed and people were saying that they were going to hurt us again, there was a certain detective that spoke to us and like I said like, well, you guys watched somebody else die, and they were like, well, you could file a complaint, but we investigate ourselves, so we have
yeah,
home court advantage. And that's kind of like a threat. Like, well, if you complain about it, nothing's gonna happen because only we're gonna hear about it. That seems like the attitude is like they got it sold up where they can do whatever they want to do,
yeah.
where they got everything
Now look
tidy.
at Mitch McConnell. He froze again for I'm gonna say almost a minute. He just sat there and he looked like he was freaking out. And we have Dianne Feinstein. They're finding her in broom closets because she's getting lost. Then we have Biden staggering around, not knowing where he's at, and talking to the air and shaking hands with the air. Uh, we have got so uh, I'm going to say these are puppets. Look at the one over, is it Pennsylvania, Karen? Uh, that he's got brain issues, and he's not even functionable. And but those are the perfect people to put in power to do what they're told. Just like these zombies. The zombies on the streets of Philadelphia or DC or San Francisco will do whatever you tell them. Hey, repeat this. Okay, yeah. Do I get heroin for it? Yeah, I will give you heroin. You just say this. And I believe,
Speaking of that, one little clue might be the fact that they found drugs up at the White House recently,
uh-huh. And the White
but they
House,
don't know whose it was.
now you got to look at Melania Trump. She brought in Catholic priests to get rid of anything evil in the White House. Why did she do that? Because who's been in there? Luciferians and satanic and uh, who knows what's been in the White House and the corruption of DC. And let's see, what do I got left here? Um, um Now Lee, get this. There was, and this happens with where you're at all the time. Wallet and keys stolen from a Democrat city council member while talking business about crime. So he's sitting there talking about the crime rate and, oh, it's bad, but we got control of it. And see, that's what um, a lot of these Democrat states and cities are claiming that are sanctuary cities, and they will run by and they will grab your keys, your purse, your wallet, your tablet, your phone. Uh, this is so common now, and they've downgraded it. I don't know about your state, but LA, it's up to $2,000. So if you rape a woman and it doesn't exceed $2,000, then it's not listed.
What they give? Wait, they not listing the crime? That doesn't make any sense. Like that
Okay,
doesn't sound like it's to help the general public.
let me finish here. So I pulled up statistics for the Democrat states, and they will list uh, all of the crimes, the rapes, the murders, and it's all up. But when you move to Wisconsin, it kind of gets distorted. And when you look at where you live, unreported, unreported, no information, no data, where you live. And that's kind of what we're moving into. So as I looked at the statistics today, I looked at New York, I looked at DC, I looked at San Francisco, LA, I looked at Flint, I looked at Detroit, I looked at Chicago, and all of them will give you all of the information needed for what the crime rate is for, um, um, uh, you know, let me see. Uh, uh, I gotta make sure I don't lose us here. Um,
Crime rate percentages.
yeah, now, like with Wisconsin, they have a map, and it has for dark blue as being the worst, and they'll give you the number of crimes, which is 19,000. This is in a year, so 19,000 crimes were committed, and it'll tell you the murder, the rape, the robbery, the assault. Okay, but when you come to Baraboo, where we're talking about tonight, it says unreported, unreported for murder, for rape, for assault, for anything that happens, um, burglary, car theft, unreported, 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 and
I
so.
mean, it's like you have to know the person's name when they doing it and
But
be in
now
town
we're going to
because
get
they.
into, me and you are going to get into that there's reasonings why people don't report these crimes because who is it that did it to these people? And are they
Mm-hmm.
going to end up dead because they
Yeah.
reported them? Now, me and you, let's talk about Ashley. When you and Ashley got together, your family had already been plagued by corruption of not only the city, because there are families that are well known. You've mentioned the Hartman, the Popples, Nelsons, Nash. So when we
Yeah,
get
Giant Robinson too.
okay,
Like
so
yeah,
when
there
we
was a
get
bunch of them.
these very rich families. And what I did was I traced them back to, let's see, uh, uh, Genovese. Now,
Really?
okay, so what we're looking at is for Wisconsin, Michigan, Illinois, New York, and some of the northern states. It also goes all the way down the East Coast. That the mob never stopped. The mob that we know, Luciano and Genovese, and there's a few others. I can't think of all their names. What it, now look at Gotti. His son went right back into corruption. So we have mob dealings to this day that people don't know about. And when they can take over a city like Baraboo and control the people, control the police, the judicial system, and everything that is about it. They can just order hitmen to do the jobs. And who are these hitmen? They are FBI, they're CIA, they're gangsters. There are so many. You would not believe the gangs found in Wisconsin and Michigan. Uh, and it's everything from an Asian gang to um, um, Russians. Lee, you told me there's Russians there.
Yeah, because they had a J1 visa thing where they fly people out from different countries that are like kind of poor. They fly them out, and some of them are like real pretty girls, and then some of them are people that are supposedly going to school, quote unquote, or getting a work visa, and they'll come. But some of them are like drug connects and like tough guys, but they'll be like they bring them from all of the different countries. They
You
bring them from the
mentioned
Eastern European
J1
countries.
visas. They're bringing them in on J1 visas.
Yeah, but it's like a scam because, like I said, they not always people coming to do a job. Some of them die out there. Some of the girls that die out there, they bring them to the deals and they'll have them stay at like the J1 dorms, like at the Wilderness Resort and some other stuff. But they have hanky panky going on because of the rich guys that own some investments in the place. Like they call themselves like the president of the company or whatever. Like one of them in particular that's related to the Hartman and some of those other people. Like he moves those guys like Chris and Ash around like they the hitmen that come for people and stuff that report different stuff. Like if they get molested or if something bad happens to them, if they get robbed and stuff, and they'll send those tough guys and they'll intimidate your daughter or intimidate your son. Like, you know, because usually they get people younger, but they have some of the girls and stuff. They tell them they got a job where they're supposed to bring people back to them, and they'll hurt even men. Like they'll hurt men and stuff too. Like because before you started the show, we were talking about that with that Joe Clark guy, the Baraboo Bone Breaker. Like he's a perfect example of it because like they get a hold of the people when they're younger, and some of the people I don't know why. I don't know why audience, but some of those guys out there are like superhumanly strong.
Mm-hmm.
I
Yeah.
don't know why. Like, but
Well,
like
now, so I'm gonna before you get to we talk about the bone crusher. I want to let people know that what I found out here investigating is during the 50s and 60s, we did a lot of projects, and I even asked Karen. Karen will vouch for it. I asked her, "Do you got the projects there?" We find out that they only had the projects up around the northern part of the country. Now, get this: when Martin Luther King Jr. had run off the Democrat Dixie Mafia, the mob, and they all went up north. I mean, they were already there in Chicago, New York, uh, Michigan. They were already in Wisconsin. They were all set in these states, and so when we run them out, they said we're going to get even. And who were they going to get even with? Uh, African Americans. So they made the projects in the 50s to get even. And they put these people in the projects and they loaded it up with pedophiles, gangs. And not only that, we find out they were even pumping in uh, uh, chemicals into it was a type of I don't know if Williams in yet, but it was a type of MK Ultra that they were testing to eliminate African Americans of the North. So if your family was raised in the projects or low, they don't call them that anymore. They call them low income housing. But back during the projects, what's a project? But we're gonna try something. We're gonna experiment. Well, it was to eliminate African Americans to get even for them having to flee the South. So now we got crooked mobsters that have always been part of Chicago and New York, but then it gave them the power of their families. So we get this. So the the mobsters may have died off, but their kids took
yeah, they
over the
still
power.
alive,
That's
but
right.
not
And
all of
then
them are
rich
dead. Like
people, like you said, like the Popples or Nash or some of the other ones you mentioned, um, Hartman and a few others. So they sunk their little roots into these towns like Baraboo.
Yeah,
And they
like
said,
Billy Joe
you know
Carr, the
what?
Carr family, like they
Right.
got family on the East Coast that were tied to the Son of Sam incident, and then like with
Bingo.
Chris Nash, he like at one point he was like, I do believe, in San Diego with some of the other strong guys, some of the muscle guys, but they like all mass migrated. But when Chris Nash got arrested for what they did to Anthony Ingram with the claw hammer, when they murdered him like in 2015, like October, like it was early October when the four of them did that, when John Robinson and all of the other little strong guys did that, they were breaking cops' jaws in the jail. Like when they were holding them in jail before they went to court for that.
But
like Chris Nash, not like he's not a joke. He's a strong man. Like,
yeah, these are very powerful families that control communities, and they are eventually you find them either tied. Now, get this: um, they like the Genovese family and Gotti. They're into Wall Street, and their family members are judges. They're um, DAs. They're chief of police. They're police officers. So when you're talking like this Popple family, it could be they're so tied into the community, they control who comes, who goes, who can um, get anything done in your in this whole town.
yeah,
And
they had Ashley terrified. Like
and
they had been abusing her since she was like 3 years old. So
see,
by the time that I bumped into her, like when I met her, she was like grown, but like she had no ID card, and what she was telling me, all of it didn't make any sense, but I knew it sounded something like like they didn't have information to explain to you what trafficking is like when a person is being held hostage somewhere. But when I first met her, the people that she was around, she told me that they had her food stamp card and they had her ID card, and that they were making her pay rent. And this was, I met her during wintertime, like around the end of Christmas, like 2014 or 15, something like that. But nah, it had to be like the end of 2014. Like, so she would ask me to meet up with her, and we would walk around town. And after a week of that, I was wondering, like, where do you go? What are you going to do after we get through taking this walk? And she's like, oh, I'm going to go up to the Oshner Park Zoo and sleep on the park bench. Justin Popple and Christy Nicole Marlin said that I can't sleep in the house on certain days. And it
okay,
was snow and slush outside.
Now get this, because you and I asked you today how old your mom was, and your mom's about my age, so you could actually be my son. And oh, it's scary. Yeah, Ellie's old. So when I look at the generation your mom grew up with, and this is what was going on, they had already in the 50s had started to change the minds of the people in not only Baraboo but Flint, Milwaukee, uh, New York, DC,
Chicago,
anywhere that they had these housing projects. And let's not call them that no more. We're going to call it low income housing. Well, what's the difference?
Back in the day, they used to say that you couldn't have a male's clothing in the house, and that kind of messed up like family units, because the father of the kids couldn't stay in the house if you got any like income to stay. So like it was like you face homelessness and the kids would be homeless, or you can get a house, but the dad can't
But
be in the
did
house.
you really want to be part of this project full of perverts, gangs, and a mind meld
and the dad's not in the home to protect the children of the wife?
Right, and to where they could rape, they could get your kids on drugs, and not only that, but prostitution. And they mention this over and over and over again, that this is
and
what
there were
was
no
in
elder males to protect any of us, because they
right
scared all of they
because
basically
yeah, and
scared
that's
the
what they're
mom,
doing
so
today.
you can't have a house unless you by yourself. So like, but the thing is, a lot of people don't know that happened because it was in the 60s and 70s and stuff, and like a lot of they doing this stuff to white people now. Like
Yes.
they not just doing it like because now that it's not
Well,
just
you
big
know,
project high rise buildings,
well,
they doing it to smaller houses and stuff so
now
that it's
get
spreading
this.
out to other people.
Now get this. We didn't have a problem with African Americans in California, but they were doing the same thing there. But they were um, uh, African Americans were in low income housing, and they were segregated, and that's what they did in the 70s, like with Joe Biden saying, "Oh, I don't want them people at my school. I don't want those kind of people in my neighborhood." And so they would segregate them out, and they did it here too. It was part of the corruption. Now, what I seen was, and you even mentioned it, was it was a type of MK Ultra.
Yeah, because like even that's gaslighting what they said. Like, because all right, imagine if he's scared, like, oh, there's black criminals. Like he think that we like the criminals and stuff. Like they don't scare us too.
You know, and the thing that gets me, Lee, is that we have, to this day, we have politicians like a mayor like Adams saying, "I'm gonna come in, I'm gonna fix corruption." And what they do is they say, "Okay, we need the money first." Okay, so they put in um, that they get 500,000, and they're going to correct the city. They're going to fix poverty. They're going to help African Americans. They are going to help anybody of color, only color. They get the money. They open up a bunch of offices. They hire their friends, and they all get together at a table and say, "What are we going to do?" And they say, "I don't know." And so they wait and until the next 4 years, and the mayor comes out and says, "I am going to fix this again, but I need the money." And it's the same
So
rhetoric.
it's a cycle where they keep getting
Right.
tricked and nothing ever
And all
happens.
it
No.
is they're putting their friends in power. So now what we're looking at is now with these states that we're looking at, we're looking at the rich you're talking about. They're running the cities, let's say 4 or 5 rich families with the mob or mafia or the new mafia gangs that own everything, that uh, when they move themselves in, now they make all the money, and the city looks beautiful. Like, let's say Flint, you go to the city of Flint and it's beautiful. You go 3 or 4 blocks out, it looks like World War II. That
Yeah.
it's been bombed,
And the
or
water is
DC.
all messed up.
Now,
Remember what happened to the water? Like the water, like was like undrinkable and stuff too. Like because with the public corruption, if you
okay,
just
was
entrench in
that,
hiring
you know what that
nepotism,
was caused by? Neglect. And it was the the state taking all the infrastructure, because infrastructure fixes your pipes. They Michigan, the money they got from the federal government, took that money and blew it and said, "Let's take a look at the pipes." Yeah, the pipes are yucky, and okay, well, uh, and then the next administration moves in and says, "We got to look at them pipes." Yeah, they look like it's brown water. What do we do? I
yeah,
don't
but if they
know.
saving money hand over fist, like if it's corruption and they hiring their friends to work there, that doesn't mean that they actually qualified for to do the job. And also, there could be cases where there's people that are getting entrenched in. Well, we're saving the money cutting corners here. You already party to the crime.
Uh
If
huh.
you want to stay with your cushy job, you have to look the other way. And then
That's
also
it.
too, there's a blackmail element that goes across the board to where they would like, because I don't like weapons. Do you know that I got asked to help somebody that was getting blackmailed by those people? By Hartman and them, they were holding this jail guard's daughter hostage, and her coworkers wouldn't help her.
Yeah.
And they were supposed to be looking into what happened to Ashley. And then I got a call from one of the jail guards because they all work together up at the Hubert Jail Center, the Salt County Hubert Jail Center. And her coworkers knew that they relatives had her daughter hostage for 2 months, and the mom is calling me, Tony Bennett. She's crying, and she's like, "I haven't seen my daughter in 2 months. Her son Giovanni is crying, asking for his mom. Lee, can you help me find my daughter? And I'm not turning down no
But
crime mom, so I
they
promise
are
I'd help.
they're and to go backwards with you and Ashley and stuff. Um, we got to look back at the childhood of like this bone crusher guy. When you're 12 years old, there are people on the streets that are coming up to these kids and say, "Hey, you know what? Hey, let's go this party. Let's go." And they start luring them away and with promises of, "We're going to make you great." You know, one of the biggest things, and you mentioned it to me earlier about the NFL, that one of the biggest attraction in where you live in Wisconsin is the NFL, and
Hmm.
that you have. I don't know what I don't even know what to call them. They go and they get these little kids, 12, 10, 12 years old, and say, "Come on, I got a little bit of candy for you. I'm going to put you in the NFL. I'm going to make you a Hollywood star. I'm going to make you a rapper. I'm going to make you this because of your talent." And it's all to start them in this whole induction of brainwashing to dumb them down, right? Because you've seen this.
Yeah,
Either
they would
they
even
get
tell. They tried to
raped.
tell Ashley that she
Okay,
could be a
now
model.
they
He was
either
telling
get
Ashley.
raped. They
They
either
was
get raped.
telling.
Now, hold on. They either get raped. They're pushed into prostitution. They're put
Yeah, because they'll
into.
drug people's drinks and stuff.
They
They
are
call them
end
a
up
sheet when
drug
they drug them and
addicts.
stuff.
They end up drug addicts. They end up criminals. They end up in gangs, or they end up being little snitches.
Yeah, and the Hubert Jill informants, yeah, that's an issue too. But like
See?
one of the weird things is a lot of times it was hard for me to get sympathy for the victims because a lot of the relatives of the people in the town and some of the town elders, they were tired of it. Even people that were guilty parties came to me, like grandmothers that were involved in the crime. They would come to my house and they would write hundreds of pages of their life story, and I compiled it all together for them and stuff, and I sent it to higher law enforcement and stuff to several different offices and stuff. But one of the things that was strange about it was they were using the same criminal MO as a guy that was in the news, Ed Buck. They would drug a person's drink, and while the person is passed out, they would call other people on the phone and text them on Facebook or on Snapchat or
Mm-hmm.
whatever, and the people would come over to the house at the house party because you know how they tell them, "Come over, we're gonna make you a model. You're gonna be this, you're gonna be that, this and the other. We can, whatever your dreams, we can,
We can
come just
make
hang
it.
out with
You
us."
can make
And
it. Yeah, come
yeah,
on here, candy little
or
girl.
you be cool, like we cool, we the cool guys and everything else. Like people, so everybody would come over to their houses and stuff, right? But they would inject the person with liquid meth. So some of the girls, like, they wake up and they be like, they'd have this woman that's she works from the memory care unit. Kimberly Popple, the mom, like the matriarch of the family, would be like, "Oh well, this is what she said to the jail guard's daughter after I rescued her." Like, because they had her at gunpoint when I went and got her, but she's like, "I woke up and Kimberly told me that I had a meth problem,
Yeah.
and you got to wean yourself off of the meth." But they inject them with the liquid because, like, if a person's unconscious, they can't smoke it, so they inject the person. But they have nurses, they have chicks that are nurses working in the little orbit of those
Mm-hmm.
people, but some of them not trained like that. And the one thing that's scary about some of the drugs that they put in the drinks, a little bit of the stuff that they have go a long way. But I was
Mm-hmm.
always confused about how they would get it because some of the drugs, come to find out that other older female victims was explaining to me, they were like, some of those drugs you had to get from a therapist. Because when John
Okay,
Seiler got arrested, he
but
had like four
they're
of them.
they're they're putting them in drinks. They're putting in things they eat. They put it into cigarettes, and not only that, but like I said before, they're pumping uh, chemicals into the projects to alter the brains of the people in the projects. Now they call it low income. So what are they doing now with low income? Is they are now uh, if you get, and you mentioned this the other day, my refrigerator has got radiation. They are
Yeah.
putting it into these low income rentals, folks. Be very careful.
Yeah,
Get you
the
a reader,
refrigerator was popping up on the Wi-Fi.
refrigerator,
Like like
stoves, coffee pots, toasters are emitting radiation. These new fridges, the new refrigerators are emitting radiation. Now think about that. And they put them into these low income housing to where they're receiving radiation. Why would the government want us with radiation? Is it for cancer? Is it for mind altering? But they could put anything in it. Now you mentioned um, uh, uh, Lee, about they've got and I can't say the word C, uh, infections in a spray where they can go in a room and spray it. Okay.
Yeah,
Don't say
yeah,
the C
yeah.
thing.
They do. Like there was somebody up at the Fermi Institute in Illinois. They was experimenting with it about like trying to take some of the chemicals and make it in an aerosol spray because that way you could just walk into a aisle and just spray it, and then people just walk into the cloud of it. They won't even know that they walked in, and you could just walk back out. But a dude just got caught. Two people actually kind of just got arrested. One of them was a guy that was shooting and stuff, and he came from his name was like Timmy Q, like K, like QUI, but he's like an Asian guy. And then the other guy, he was in Florida. He was taking some weird oxycodone methadone spray and putting it under people. He was taking like a syringe dripper type thing and putting it at the base of the door. And whatever that chemical was, it was so powerful that it was making the baby and the man and his wife sick, and they could smell it in the room. But he was a neighbor. He was a downstairs neighbor, and he was complaining because they had a newborn baby. So he wanted to poison them, and it was another Asian guy. But the thing is, they were both two guys from universities. But yeah, at the universities with the MK Ultra thing and stuff, like they did, because Gaylord Nelson is related to the guys that connect to that one family. But I didn't know that they connected to Genovese from what you're saying. But the Italian one was Lucas Adrian. I knew he was Italian, but
Mhm.
yeah, he's
No,
part of them. So
well,
I guess that would
the
be one of
mob
their
never
connections.
left. The mob never left. They just inducted more people. Like
Yeah, but the
the
French guy was like the French family is connected with them because, like, remember, you were saying about the Memphis Mafia. The Memphis Mafia has something to do with what happened to Sheriff
Dixie
Buford
Mafia.
Pusser, and
Dixie Mafia got him.
the French family broke out Towhead White when he shot his wife, and they shot Sheriff Buford in the lower jaw.
Yeah.
You know,
Well, see,
before
that's
because
part
it's
of the
like
Dixie Mafia, and even Clinton, Bush, and even Joe Biden was part of the Dixie Mafia, to where the mob and the mafia never left. The
hey, is there a
kids
way to
are
check
there.
if the Nelsons are related to Babyface Nelson? Because there is a monument to him. There's like a house like that. He like one of his safe houses was in Wisconsin, and it's like a museum.
Yeah. Well, look at Gotti. He died, and his son took over. That's what I'm talking about. And sometimes we wouldn't even recognize the names. And that's kind of what I was looking into today with the
Yeah,
names you mentioned,
significance.
to see what was going on in your city and Baraboo that made it so corrupt. And and it's not just your city. I mean, Milwaukee is really bad.
Yeah,
Uh,
some of them migrated from there. Like that's weird. Like the
and
Popples
I mean,
family migrated from Milwaukee to
yeah, see,
around
that's what you're
Portage and
saying.
North
So
Freedom and
we
Baraboo.
had we have these very rich families, and I don't like the Clintons, that just get off on torturing or the suffering of those in poverty, or is it to kill them off? And so that's kind of what I was looking at. And as we look at the gangs, there are so many gangs, and now we have there the the administration letting in migrants, because you said there's Asian gangs. There you're seeing Russians. Um,
Yeah,
I heard of
and Ukrainians. Like they got Ukrainian
Ukrainians.
guys. Like they there's one hanging around my brother-in-law
Is he Azov
Jeremy, and the dude
battalion? Do
carries
we know?
guns all of the damn time. It's the weirdest thing. The dude got into a shootout, and like they not covering it in the news. My brother-in-law got a hold of me and told me a week ago. He was like, "Yeah, the Ukrainian guy got into a shootout with somebody in Baraboo, but they not really covering it in the news, right? Like
Now,
they
now
trying to."
And
covered.
you know,
I don't know who these
we've
people are though.
mentioned like the white Aryan, and you don't hear about the white Aryan very often because people think of KKK with the white hoods. Now the white Aryans are different. Now the white
Yeah, they
Aryans,
don't. Yeah, they
uh,
don't wear hoods and stuff like that. They
now
don't even all get
you,
the same type of tattoos. They don't get the iconography all the time for the tattoos. They just look like regular people.
yeah,
And that's one thing like where it was confusing for me when I was out there and then I found out I was around them. Like cause at first they were kind of laughing, but they absorb people in.
no,
Like it's like they it's the weird it's kind of degrading, but they'll make friends with people and marry people in, and there'll be like this mixed person in this group with people that'll be openly racist, but they don't have the tattoos all the time. They
well
have like
they
tattoos like
don't. The
pentagram things
white
like with demon
Aryans
heads.
don't do the tattoos where MS-13 would. Now, the thing is you mentioned the white Aryans up there. Now, the white Aryans, they do have color in their group, but the white Aryans,
Yeah,
you talked about up there.
when
Now, if
Chris
you,
Nash got busted, there was a mixed girl driving him. The getaway driver was a mixed girl. So a lot of times it's confusing to people because people would be like, why is this a mixed group, but these people doing this? So it'll look like they not, but they are, because it's like you don't know if that kid is a kid from the victim, like from one of the J1 girls, like of a Jamaican girl, because they'll fly people from Brazil and Jamaica out and they get some of those girls knocked up. So there'll be an anchor baby, but sometimes they'll be selling them because some of the girls would be drop dead gorgeous. But they absorb different people in. Like they absorb black people in
yeah,
or whatever. It's like sometimes people get payoff jobs. It'd be like that nepotism stuff, like a person fell upward. Like you saw something crazy happen, so they offer you a payoff job.
uh, and so now with the white Aryan up there, I come to find out they there are quite a few missing people in Wisconsin, and now the white Aryan in itself has been tied to many murders, and they said you can't really blame the gangs. You got to go with the white Aryans or the biker groups, and I'm
Yeah,
not
but
trying to
those are
pick on.
gangs too. They're street gang just like anybody else. Like I think that it's
Bingo.
kind of like because here's something that's weird that happened. I don't know if you ever heard of. There was this older guy that was like an investigator and stuff, but he was like a ex head of FBI, and he was saying that at one point in time there was a certain particular agent. You know who else knows this in extreme detail? There's this guy named Douglas Dwayne Dietrich. He knew the name and the date when this happened. There was a certain agent that to do interference for that gang that connects to them. Because
Hmm.
this is basically like a historical thing. Because you were saying like they kind of like the mob. Um, they had an agent say, well, if somebody got killed and it was a person that was a Christian, you couldn't investigate all Christians. So if a person kills somebody and there's a pentagram on the floor and it says 666 on the wall and some other stuff is on there at the crime scene, you have to disregard that. So like he took away. So like imagine if you on a crime scene in Wisconsin, somebody dies in the motel and somebody writes something on the wall. This happened while all of this stuff was hitting the fan before I moved. Somebody got killed up in a motel and there was stuff like that up in there. And all of the girls in town and the elders, everybody knew about the room because the people that had to see it and clean it up afterwards. But they were like, it didn't get written up like that. It didn't get
Hmm.
any write up in the news. But the thing is, if you call like the FBI and you were like, some Satanist crap, they'll hang the phone up on you. They will hang the phone up on you. You have to like leave that out of the
Yep.
whole equation. So if there's like a scoreboard of which gangs would kidnapping and killing the most, they get away with that so that they not connected, even if they connected. Like there'll be stuff blatantly connecting people together to where another crime happened where there'll be like a like the little 11-year-old girl got murdered by somewhere close to like Black River Falls or New Glarus. Like her cousin was like 14 and he killed his 11-year-old cousin, female cousin, and he committed necrophilia on the little girl. But this is a little child. Little kids
Now,
don't think like
get
that.
this.
So like some of the connections being dropped, people can't do proper investigations and connect the dots to see how the migration, how they connect together is. People don't know that there's a route, because you mentioned all of those different states. You know that there's a trafficking route, a drug route.
Yeah, now get this. Now get this. There is a little girl that I believe she was out of DC, and she was it started when she was 6 years old. That her mom, that they would give her $50,000 a year, the government would, to pimp out her little girl to politicians.
Seriously?
6 years old. And when she was 10 and told her teacher, she disappeared.
What was that girl's? Do you happen to know that child's name?
No, it never did give it. And then, and now, and the reason I found out about this is because I was referred to it first. And then I found out this other little girl in, I think, South Carolina. She's 5 or 6 years old. Her mom is pimping her out. And I think if you run it through, you could probably find it. This is in South Carolina. Her mom was pimping her out for money.
So, yeah, but isn't the farm in Carolinas, like in North Carolina, South Carolina, don't they have on the CIA farm out there?
Well, like you got to realize. Now, I've mentioned this to you. You got to look at our FBI nationwide is corrupt. Our CIA is corrupt. Our Department of Justice is corrupt. Now, get this,
I sent the letter. Remember, I told you I wrote the letter. I sent the letter to the Department of Justice.
Now, get this. That let's see if I can find his name. The crime family and the mob, their families have been put into power enough to where they have put DAs and judges and public defenders into place. And the SOROS has been funding these, because they're all connected into one with this big money. So when you were looking at the Popples and the things they were doing to you and Ashley, it makes a lot of sense.
Came forward and told me that they related to a chief justice.
Right. So if you go to court, even your public defender is working for a type of mafia. A type of mob, a type of corruption.
Like a lot of times, like people get threatened, and it's kind of like not worth it for a person and stuff, and people end up getting injured like me. But the thing is, I kept getting back up, and I kicked some of the bad guys in their Orbis butt before I left. But it was stupid.
The whole thing is for you to understand that when you and Ashley got together, she was already part of the system. Your family was already part of the system. Your sister, your mom, your grandma.
I didn't know we were victimized, but then I found out that they basically had been following my mom. Every place that my mom moved, we were getting followed or getting intercepted. Like as soon as we move in, our new neighbor is somebody that's out of their orbit, and we got a voucher to move when we were little kids. My father got murdered, and that destabilized our family. Like around when I was 8, then my mom got an offer for the move, and when she got moved to a town that Route 14 that goes to New Glarus, going to the Dells where the Popples. We moved to a town where their relatives were at. So when I was in high school, I didn't know it, but some of the people, weird stuff was going on in the town there. But that was the first time that I was in a white town, a suburban town, and my mom has moved there with this weird voucher, and we were getting threatened, and stuff was happening to us there. And it didn't make any sense, because I'm like, why are these people so hot? It's like people are nice, or either they trying to rape or murder you. It's like it was like night and day. And people came through that town doing some nightmarish stuff. Like one of them,
Lee, get this. Mary just said they will poison you and your animals. You got poisoned.
Yeah, I got poisoned several times, but I know how.
See?
Everybody in the audience has watched the show. Like that's the reason why sometimes I tell y'all different teas that you can drink, a different herbal, different stuff. Like I'm kind of like an Indiana Jones slash Black MacGyver. Like I think I don't know a lot about everything, but I know just enough to get us through. Like I'm like Peter Venkman from the Ghostbusters. I'm not the smartest one in the group, but I can bullcrap us out of getting killed by a big marshmallow monster or whatever the
Yeah,
hell.
and it's hard because, and what we're pointing out tonight, and I mean, this is going to continue for quite a few weeks. I mean, this is an ongoing thing because the corruption never stops. But uh, tonight kind of shows you that when you get the mob into these Democrat states that's on a vendetta to get rid of anybody of color, and then um, they start with the kids. Now, you even mentioned when you were young, you had someone come and tell you, "Hey, come over here. I'm gonna make you. I'm gonna make you a star," and that's how they do it. And
No, like the first one, like when I was a kid, a guy who was an undercover cop came up to me and he was trying to get me to go over to some of the criminals' house that was on drugs. Like they were on hard drugs. I'm like 14 or 15, a freshman in high school, and my mom got that voucher when we moved. And when we moved there was an undercover cop living in the apartment acting like he was just a regular person. And he ended up arresting somebody that we knew, like he was coming to court, and my mom was going to court. And she was like, "That dude is a sergeant or something. He was undercover when he moved. He moved from Woodstock to when we moved to Harvard, and he was following us and stuff. But then he stopped following us and went and started following Junius Norfleet, and he
mhm.
busted June. But June got set up. They sent a girl to date him, and when the girl came to date him, like she was doing all types of craziness. Her whole family was on drugs and stuff. June didn't have anything to do with that stuff. He used to be a working guy, like a working stiff. Like he
Yeah,
used to work for UPS and used to work for one of the little factories and stuff out there. He was a straight arrow until he got with that girl.
yeah.
Until he got with that girl, and like, but the thing is, he was more stupid than I was younger and had more sense than to not go with that weird undercover police guy that was asking. He's like, he asked me during lunch. He was asking me to skip school, like to go, and I was like, no. Like, I could have. What if I was a dumb kid? I would have been going with him. They would have got me on drugs or some
Well, or
craziness.
who they see the drugs is just the beginning, and then and this is what we're seeing with these Democrat states is they tempt you, they get you on a drug, they get you strung out, and then there's a purpose for it at the end. And speaking of poisons, folks, I'm boy, I got to admit something. A couple weeks ago, I got very sick over the weekend, and I was throwing up, and it was mentioned, did I was I around pesticides? Did I ingest anything? It looked like I'd been poisoned. So
Did
there's a
somebody make your coffee for you?
no, I do it all, but I don't. We leave the house. I don't know who gets in the house. Um, I've heard noises in the middle of the night. I've had the SUVs out in front of my yard. Um, me and
Elly,
Williams talked
Elly,
about it. Me and William and Mary's talked about it, and
will you
uh,
please do me a favor? Please, please. Will you please grab those three items I told you about to make
mm,
that tea?
yeah,
Just to have it in case for you and the babies or your daughters, anybody that, you know what I'm saying? If something weird happened and stuff, just, take a little bit of the stuff and mix it together because it clears and detox your body out so you can flush it out. You sweat it, pee it out, poop it out, whatever the heck.
hmm
Just get that just in case, okay? Okay, please, please.
so,
I told
but
you, and I
it's
told a
been
couple other
like
people.
3 weekends in a row that, and it's only on the weekends that I end up being sick, and it's an odd sick, and even the doctor is wanting to take a look at it, see what's going on that I'm doing on the weekends that I keep getting sick like I'm having a pesticide issue. And I'm like, I'm not spraying anything. I got puppies, so I can't really put nothing out. And they're saying, well,
If
Um,
it's a liquid, it could have been poured
now
in a
look at
juice
my
bottle that you would
computer's
finish it
been
off if it was
hacked.
a gallon.
I've had my computer hacked. I've been sick. Um, and but I want to get back on because we only got a few minutes left, and I want to get back on the issue of before we have to move to next week is when the kids there. Now the Bone Crusher kid, that
Mm-hmm.
he had a fetish with socks, and they're saying something happened to him from somebody when he was a kid. There is so many in these states that are luring the kids in with, the lollipop or the drugs or promises. I'm going to make you a Hollywood star. You're going to be the next rapper, and um, so when you met Ashley, uh, there
Mm-hmm.
was already history with her and you and your family of
Yeah, I saw her, but right before, remember I told you my face got scarred? I saw her in a crowd when they tried to drug and rape my ex fiance right before I sent her
yeah,
and away, and I was by myself. And like 2 days later, the house got filled with CO2 poison. And when I was passed out, somebody drugged me over to the central air unit where the poison was coming from, and they pistol whipped my body because they thought I was dead. They was trying to make it so that I would have been a closed casket for my mom. But I had made a promise. I always keep my promise, and I promised that I would show up to court. Maybe I shouldn't have said what I said. I told one of the people involved that put the contract hit on me, like I had told Nancy Rice and Aileen Runty, I was like, I'm gonna come to court even if I come with my bones showing. And they made sure that my bones were showing not even a month
yeah.
later.
So
They made sure that my
yeah,
face was
and
ripped
our
open to the
viewers need
bone.
to realize that now this started with you and your girlfriend, but it didn't. It started with your mom and it went to your mom and dad and even your
My
grandmother.
grandma.
that you and these states are stuck, and you it's a generation after generation after generation that is happening to these people up there, and it's all mostly. I'm not going to say it's just African American because it's anybody
It's no,
that
it's
is in
not. They do
poverty.
it to poor white people too. Like,
Poor,
cause Ashley
poor white
was a
people,
white
yeah.
girl, and they had Ashley's mom. They owned her mom. So yeah, it is a generational thing. Cause like I told you, some of the people that were elders came to me, like the grandmother that helped me write the letter. We wrote a 300-page letter, and we sent the thing to DOJ and a couple other places and stuff. But we were told to do that by some state troopers and some other different people in law
Yeah, no,
enforcement, like
and
higher law enforcement.
when we defunded the police, you know what's left? Corrupt cops, corrupt chief of police, and we hear that we've got so many corrupt police officers, and everybody like me, I'm in a town that the police officers are great. That's not the case up there. They're corrupt.
There
Uh,
has to be a couple guys
they're
that want to be
now
the
get
good
this.
guys. There has to be a
They
couple
had a
guys
prison
that
in
grow up want to be a hero.
they had a
Like if
prison in
anybody listening, like Ellie, let me say this: if any of y'all guys listening, and you a cop, and you got any type of heart or care about other people, and you really want to protect people, y'all have to be the ones that help. Y'all have to step up and be like Murtaugh and Riggs and stuff, because everybody can't want to be a villain, even if it's just one. Don't feel like it's
George
daunting,
Floyd.
like you alone. Good guys always alone. Look up Bass Reeves. Look up Sheriff Buford Pussy. Um look up Serpico. You know what I'm saying? Like if more people are the good guys, the issues that happen with Serpico and Sheriff Buford Pussy probably wouldn't have happened. Or look even up at I heard Judge Melanie Tobiason might be dead. Like she
Yeah.
got suicided. Like
Well,
maybe I shouldn't have said that word like that. I've been trying to censor myself
we call it
so that you don't get.
Arkanside and you're safe. Say they got Arkanside. There you go.
Yeah, yeah.
The thing is we are looking at um, defunding the police. So what's left is corrupt police officers, a corrupt chief of police, and it goes to. Then we have all of up there. We have the children or the next generation of corruption that is now taken over city
When
council.
a,
They've taken
when our mayor
chief
says
of
something that's
police.
important to what you're saying, like that's an important clue, Judge Lori Lightfoot, I mean, not Judge, I mean, Mayor Lori Lightfoot got on TV, and there's a segment that you guys can research, or either I'll grab it and give it to you, where she said that she was trying to hire sheriffs and housing authority workers that pledge allegiance to the New World Order.
Mm-hmm.
And I've been saying for a long time that the New World Order is not the proper word for it. They actually have a website, and they actually are the International Liberal Order German Marshall Fund, started in World War II. That is who they are. And they are multiple races of people from different countries and everything, which is why it looks diverse. But they generally hire whoever the sellouts are that want to be rich, that'll throw their people under the bus. But they usually will work with different people. Like if there's a Filipino person that's involved with a coup with some CIA guys that are draining people's blood to make the poor towny people think that there's a vampire, there was generally ILO type stuff going on. Like, but that's where the stuff gets twisted, because a lot of times when, like, if you're looking for the bad guys and you don't know their names and you say a blanket thing, like if you say the government did it, that's offensive to a person that's a government worker that got goodness in their heart, and they'll try to stonewall you because you're not saying the name of the person. Who, what, when, and where. Who, what, when, and where.
But
like the elements
the thing
of a crime.
is with the poverty, it's poverty has no color. It's all of us.
And a lot of people want to get out of it. So a lot of persons, like, they be like under the crunch. They'll be like, I'll sell my neighbor out for some money.
So when you look at these cities, and over the last 40, 50 years, from the projects and now it's low income housing, they're still doing the same thing they did. And it's still, whether it was Gotti or one of the other ones, Luciano, or any of those. Now we've got their kids, and now we're finding out that they are our police, our chief of police, there are DAs, there are public defenders, and judges, yes. Well, Genevieve, guy, he said a lot of his family members became judges and DAs, and that was in 2019.
And that's like real good for people to have them. Like, all right, one thing, like, if you want to have a certain type of crime go on, you got to have people that help you either cover it up, even if it looks blatant and it looks silly in front of people, or you got to have people that help you participate. So a lot of times, if you have a person working for the DA, a person that's a DA has access to all of the criminals, so they know who will actually do something for the facilitate a contract hit. If you trying to cover up a crime in a town, you got to have the duty sergeant be dirty. The duty sergeant, he rewrites the narrative at the end of the day.
But you got to have the police, as well as if you're being charged and get a public defender, it should be treated as they're there to defend you, not working with the DA behind your back to put you away if they think you are going to be a danger. Their drugs, their pervertedness, anything that would pop them out. Investigations on the crooked politicians. So anyway, Lee, I don't want to get onto crooked politicians, but next week when I have you on, I want to move forward with you and Ashley of when you guys got together and what had happened, because you had your sister, you mentioned she turned in some people, and there's a lot to this that has even to the point where your own son was taken. And so I want to move into that.
They had attacked the mother of my child before I ever met him. The mother of my child is older than me. Like so, she had already got hurt by people related to the Popples, and she had a child by somebody that knows that connects to Kimberly, Mark Groom the third, and Raymond Hartman, the strong guy. Like they raped the mother of my kid. They gang raped the mother of my kid, and she tried to report it. And when she reported it, they snubbed their nose at her because they would have protected informants like the Hubert jail informants before
Mm-hmm.
you would have called it that. And that it it basically corrupted the mother of my child's whole dealing with everything because she was like, I reported it and they did that to me, and the cop said, why was I there? I didn't know that they were going. You understand all of that
Mm-hmm.
emotion? It kind of set her to
Yeah.
kind of falling apart, and there wasn't really much that I could do to ease how she felt or what she knew because she was terrified of what was going on, but she wasn't telling me. I had to. Ellie, how do you think I feel to find out about? I had to find it out when I was in another state, and it was like everybody knew each other. That was kind of terrifying to me, and I'm a strong person. So imagine how a woman would feel when she's like, wait a minute, I've been getting
Mm-hmm.
manipulated. All these people know each other already. Like, that's
Mm-hmm.
how I felt. Like, I'm like, we've moved. Me and my family moved, and all of these people still know everybody from where I went to high school. How do these people all know each other
Mm-hmm.
already?
Yeah.
And when you realize it, that they know each other and they related and friends, they know each other on Facebook and everything else,
Mm-hmm.
it's kind of like terrifying. And it's like, well, what am I supposed to do? They hurt me. Like I was bleeding over these people several times. I was sick over these people, almost down for the count. Well, who am I supposed to reach out to for help?
Yeah. That's
And
it.
and and other people are coming to me for me to help them because they like, well, you survived. You can
Mm-hmm.
help me. And it's like all they doing is getting me hurt again.
Well, they're not there for you. They're only there to save their ass.
Yeah, but
Pardon
the
my
thing is,
French.
like I'd be willing to help. I'd be willing to help, but the thing is, I don't have resources like other people and stuff like that that could be doing it. And when I'd help, everybody would be so hostile to me
Uh-huh.
afterwards. Ellie, that's the part that'd be so painful because you'd be totally alienated because it's like
Yeah.
I'm hurt, I'm bleeding. And I just saved the
Mm-hmm.
person, but nobody wanted me to do it. And all of these people damn near like they want to spit in my face. And it's like, why are you like, I'll break your face just because I got one arm working. Don't think I won't grab you and throw you somewhere. And they be like acting rude to me, but it hurts your feelings. Like so, a lot of times I'll be like, it ain't even worth it to curse this person out or get
Mm-hmm.
mad at them because I'm like, I got bigger fish to fry. And like
Yeah.
I realized I couldn't knock them all out. Like I was, do you know I had that retarded notion at one point where I'm like, I'm gonna beat them up, and it's like they
Mm-hmm.
killers, they rapers,
Yeah.
if I beat them all up, that's they supposed to be in jail, and that's the reason what it made me like contact because you know. Like I'm a black man. I'm kind of scared to call the police because a lot of times they react to me really badly, and the people is related to them. But you saw that I still contacted law enforcement. I contacted the FBI, contacted GOJ with the letter. I didn't sit on it. I didn't
Mm-hmm.
sit on it being like, well, I'm gonna look
Yeah.
like a snitch. I'm not a snitch. They got my baby. How dare
Yeah.
you say some stuff like that? I'm a grown man. I'm not a criminal. I'm not a gang member. I don't sell drugs. I can contact the police when somebody raped some neighbor of mine and killed her daddy. How
Yep.
dare you try to put some stupid onus like, well, I'm supposed to be living next to some serial killers and some of them will break your bones?
Yeah.
I'm not letting them hurt my little sister or my niece or nobody. Like, forget you. Like that. That's how I started feeling, and I defiantly was looking for help. And I figured like, if you're not gonna help, you part of the narrative. If you're not gonna help, if you don't care about this little girl dying, if you don't care about this old lady dying, if you don't
Mm-hmm.
care about this old man dying, you part of the narrative. Because how you have a
Yeah.
dog in the race with protecting some people that hurt somebody that I think didn't deserve to die that way.
Mm-hmm. Okay, Lee, boy, strong show today. And we'll be back next week with Lee and to move on because there's a lot more corruption that has plagued Lee and uh, his girlfriend Ashley and what we're seeing across our nation. that
ex-girlfriend,
ex-girlfriend.
ex-fiance. Like she gave up, y'all. Sadly, the girl, there wasn't no happy walk off in the sunset. You know, she stayed. Like I learned the detox stuff to help her, and she stayed behind. She stayed behind and
But
kind of
what now? Think
disrespected the
about
memory
it
of her
though,
father.
Lee. How much of it did she just get um, controlled into that system?
Yeah, she
She
was
got sucked
controlled, and she
in.
was scared of him. She thought that I'd be dead by now, and that break my
See,
heart.
see.
She was like me and her
But
were a team,
you
and
can't
she
help those people. It's like the zombies in Philadelphia. I mean, you could try, but the second they say, "Come here, little girl, look what I got for you," they're like, oh yeah, I'm all for it," and that's what these uh, corrupt, rich politicians, those in charge. It could be a police officer, it could be a teacher, it could be, look what they're doing in the schools with this. Uh, hey, we're going to teach kindergartners about sex. It, whatever they decide they're going to do to, let's, come here, little girl, come here, little boy. And they're starting it younger and younger. And I feel I can understand with Ashley that she got sucked in, but we can't save everybody because once they're
she thought
in,
I wasn't strong enough to
no,
survive it. She thought I wouldn't be
no,
able to. Um, she thought I'd fall. She thought I'd fall to the wayside because somebody she dated before she talked to me, he got poisoned and died. But he was a drug addict, and I don't do
and
drugs, so I
it's good
kind of
on
don't
that
like the
life
fact that
though.
before her father, Steve Roy Smith, passed away, he said for us to do stuff, and she didn't follow through, and I went above and beyond. So I kind of feel betrayed by her, and like I'm crying
Yeah,
telling you this,
of
but the
course,
thing is,
yeah.
like she gave up. She dishonored her father's
She,
memory, and the thing
well,
is, she was
we're gonna
trained as a
we'll get
swordswoman.
into that because I really want to talk about that. That when our family members get sucked into it, and they're, it's, you just can't change their minds. So, all right, I'm gonna cut it with this, and because we got a lot more, because oh boy, Lee has got a story that can go for probably 4 or 5 shows on the corruption and the, I don't want to say mind meld, it's just the power of corrupt people that want, it's all about power. And Lee's even says it's not about the money, it's not the money. It's just they enjoy this. They enjoy looking at this, and I don't know why. Um, but Lee, you're a great host, and welcome aboard. And I'm looking forward to next Thursday. So,
All right, thanks for
so,
having me.
so
Thanks for
next
having me.
Thursday, you all, this is going to be continued. And we've only just scratched the surface. We're telling you the power people and the starting of, come here, little boy, come here, little girl, to induct them into even the bone crusher, saying, come with me, I got this party. And then he
He
broke,
had to learn that from somebody.
he,
Somebody had to
yeah,
teach that to
he,
him.
and he tortured this kid for like 2 3 days before he escaped, and we're seeing this more and more. All right,
Yeah,
Lee.
tell him about how he did the boy's leg, how he twisted his leg backwards with his
He,
bare hands. I don't think people understand how like they don't understand who some of the monsters were that we were
they could
facing out
find
there.
it. You can find the story of this Joe Joe Carter, I think that's what his name is.
No,
Mm,
Joe Clark. Joe Clark,
um,
the Baraboo Bone Breaker.
Joe Clark, Baraboo, Bone Crusher. It's out there, folks.
Yeah, it's under both names. It's under
And
both of them
that,
names and
I
stuff.
mean,
But
I
he,
even
he
ran it
literally,
through YouTube, and there was like 2 or 3 different people that were talking about it. And I
yeah.
mean,
If
uh,
you look at what the other way that they title it, you'll find even more. A lot of people cover that thing because it's
and
terrifying. Because
and
people are like, a little kid did that. A 17-year-old kid
yeah,
was breaking
did to a
people's bones
12-year-old.
with his hands.
Yeah. So, and and it wasn't just him. It was one other kid named Christian Steiner. He was killed by Joe Clark. Folks, go look it up. You want something to watch tonight that we're talking about? of this is in Baraboo that we're talking about. Me
Yeah,
and
Baraboo, the home of the circus. Like they, one of the
mhm.
Ringling brothers or Barnum and Bailey, something like that. Like, so
Yeah,
I wonder if he was related to a strong man or something. It's just something weird. There's a bunch of strong guys that were out there, like terrifically
it's
strong,
it's
like, and
the
also
money
real
because you
huge
think
guys.
of the circus and that family has a lot of money. So you're talking it's the money, the power, and what they do with it, and it's corruption. So, all right. So, folks, subscribe and hit that like button and the thumbs up for today's show, or even hit a heart saying you loved it. Uh, Lee needs some hearts here, and
Yeah, everybody be
all those
safe.
women send him the hearts. He's a good looking man there. So,
Aw, and you're a beautiful woman.
I'm old.
Thanks for your vote of confidence.
So, anyway, we will see you all next Thursday for Lee, and we'll continue this. And we're going to go on to what he had to endure with him and Ashley and losing his son. So, all right, subscribe, hit the like, and come on back. And then, of course, come on back tomorrow. We've got trivia tomorrow night. So, all right, thanks, Lee.
All
And
right.
we will see you all very soon. Share this show so people could start learning about what corruption is hitting our cities and it's coming to the suburbs. All right. Thanks a lot, folks. All right. There we go, buddy.